Welcome to the Copy Talk Podcast. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member, FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Financial planning services through Lighthouse Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor. Lighthouse and Cambridge are not affiliated. And now, here's your host, Shannon Ross.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk. We are in a part 2 series of Prepare for the Bear.
Prepare for the Bear.
If you don't know what that means, don't
go
turn
back
off yet.
Well, or actually, push pause, go back to last week's episode.
It is interesting.
Go to last week's, read that, because that set the read the whole transcript. No, listen.
And watch.
Go to YouTube and watch, because Team USA threw up on me.
Yes.
And I thought we were having a theme week, and Shannon came in brown and cream. And I look like...
Well, I had texted April the night before just saying, because I try to give her now a heads up on questions I'm going to ask her so that she doesn't look at me like she normally does
with crazy eyes.
Question. Yeah. So I just texted her at like 10 o'clock. I was like, hey, I'm going to ask what your favorite Olympic event is. Mm-hmm. And if you had to compete in the Olympics, which event it would be.
So
and
I naturally thought
the next day, all in Team USA gear.
Decked
so
out.
I did not assume that was... We were changing the theme.
Well, so this week I wore black. This week I wore all black. That's okay. I was supporting the nation.
That's right.
Love my country.
That's right.
And you had the flag behind you.
I love having the flag as a part of our show.
Yeah.
Because I buy a lot of red, white, and blue things. I am. I have hats, I have boots, I have flip-flops, I have bathing suits. Like I have so many red, white, and blue things that my kids do make fun of me for.
And yet
I love it.
Decided not to wear any of it. The week that we kicked off the Olympics.
Next week. We'll see.
Well,
when's the closing ceremony?
I don't know. Anybody know, Ryan?
Couple weeks, I think. I think you're good. I think it's got to be next week.
It's got to be right.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can have Team USA throw up on you.
Yes. Okay.
Shannon's heart is red, white, and blue.
It is red, white, and blue.
Yes, she bleeds America.
I do.
Go America.
You know what book I'm reading right now?
Tell me.
And actually, my family thought it was like a school book for one of my kids, for my high schooler. I'm reading the Federalist Papers, which is the 85 published essays arguing why we needed a U.S. Constitution before the Constitution was written. So it's 85 essays by Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison. And it's fascinating. Like, I am enamored in this book.
Just walk out of the room.
So my love for this country is in a unique
throw it down and walk
category
out.
Because, and it's funny, I think why I like it so much is how we are facing the same kind of dangers that they were facing at the beginning of our nation. Because their whole concept, if we are not one America, if we are not a united front, we will fall within the matter of days or months. And so their whole argument was, don't be 3 or 4 different, segmented type of jurisdictions. Don't be separated political parties. We have to come together as one nation with one constitution and one set of rules and one governing set of laws, or we will fail. And I do believe that is even true today. There's my political speech for today. I'll be running for office next year.
You know what? The show's over. Turn it off. That's it. We'll pick up the bear market next week.
Next week, Shannon reviews the Magna Carta.
Seriously.
Right.
You want to know what I'm reading? Anybody want to know what I'm reading? I would like to borrow that next. Well, for my book club, we picked Reckless Girls. And so if you would like a good murder mystery, pick that up at your local Barnes & Nobles, or you can download it on your Kindle or your smartphone. That's what.
See, we cover the whole spectrum on this show.
Well, we would,
that's good.
We would, and so Ryan, don't you agree, Ryan Kelly? I think when she's done with it, she needs to come back and preach again. I think that needs to be a show. Do we all agree?
I think put it in a 3 to 5 page report, double spaced.
Yeah, single space
with the bibliography.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I do have to say, Alexander Hamilton's writing is really hard because it's
I'm
so
sure.
intelligent and so many complex wording.
Well, and there's
words
they
used,
wite the way they
vocabulary,
spoke then
oh
too,
my
which is so
goodness,
different
yeah.
now.
So
They don't.
this is harder to digest.
Yeah,
It
we may
takes
live
me a
in
little
Colorado,
longer.
but we speak Texan, so it's even harder for us. Is
know.
that your sanity spin this week? That you because we haven't done one, so I was going to put you
I
on the
know,
spot this
I
week.
know.
Is that your sanity spin with reading that?
You
I'm
know
kidding.
what's? I think so because this will make
Oh.
you laugh. Because I did buy the book, I was super excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
So this past weekend it was sunny. It wasn't that warm, but it was sunny enough. So I forget which show last year, but I love throwback stuff. So I bought last year this like jelly. Remember the blue jelly sun chair
we've
I bought
talked about
last
the
year?
blue jelly.
So
sun
on
chair.
Sunday, I took my blue jelly.
Is that still thing in
sun
one piece?
chair.
Still in one piece?
It still works and everything.
Wow.
So from like the 1970s, you don't even know what a jelly chair is, Kelly. I'll show you after the show. But I laid it on my deck and I read my book and I was and in the sun and I was so happy.
Oh.
So that was
your
my
sanity spin. Well,
spin.
you actually have another sanity spin coming up.
I know.
We have a
Tomorrow
ladies.
night.
Yes.
Oh,
well,
okay.
that yes.
My
Hello.
husband's going out of town this weekend, hence we're doing a lot of lady stuff.
We
so I'm
do.
going on a date with her on Friday night, and then I'm having a girls' game night at my house
We have
on
game
Saturday
night on
night.
Saturday.
And my husband's like, do you want me just to stay gone?
We're
or-
gonna do Mexican food on Saturday, and a
are.
bunch of ladies
And
playing
games.
games. This morning, my husband, because of course we know that he and Justin are Max Out partners. If you've not seen
That's
that show, go back. It's funny. But he was like, "So, since Justin's out of town this weekend, are you like gonna be with Shannon all weekend?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am.
Pretty much.
Pretty
We should
much.
go
I'm gonna be
skiing."
there all week." And he's
That's
like,
right.
"Oh, okay, I was just asking." okay.
You know, it's just well, you know, when your husband's out of town, things just kind of, I don't know, you get to kind of just do whatever you want. It's kind of nice
Hey,
for a
oh.
couple days, not for long term, but just a couple days. It's kind of nice.
So Shannon's address is. No, I'm just kidding. It's party time at Shannon.
It's
No, I'm
party
just
time at
kidding.
my house,
No, I get it.
so.
It's a different feel, different vibe.
Yeah.
When David travels, same thing. It's just kind of
Right.
yeah. No, it's.
And you're ready for them to come home when it's time, but you know,
Yeah.
so I'm excited. What about you, Sanity Spin?
I just said it.
Oh, well, you said one funny right before the show.
Oh, before the show. Well, my sanity spin, and it really is every single day. I go out and clean up after my donkeys. So I shovel
Shovel poop.
I shovel poop, and I fill water buckets, and I halter and lead out to pasture.
I was
and
thinking about you
feed.
because it's like this whole like little world, like this little environment that you can escape to anytime you want. How awesome is that?
Love them so much.
I bet they don't like the snow. All
They don't
snow
like the
we've been
snow.
getting.
And when I lay down, so once a week I do a deep clean of their stall. I mean, every day I clean it because they poop a lot, a lot. And yeah, so I lay down fresh shavings, and Pistol loves to. Once I lay down fresh shavings, he walks in there. I was cleaning Pete's hooves, and Pistol walked into the middle of that stall and laid down and rolled all over the fresh shavings, and he gets up and he walks out and he looks at me and he is covered. And it's like he looks at me like, "Thanks, Mom. Thanks. Love it when you lay those down."
That's
and now they're all
cute.
over my body, and you'll need to put down more.
Yeah.
Yes, they are precious. I am
They're
in love with
happy.
them. Of course. Hello, they have me as a mom.
I know. We need to post more pictures on our website for them.
I love them
And we'll do that this
so much. Anyways, I know we're talking about bears and not donkeys, so
I know. Good thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, but bears, they're mean.
bears are
They're
mean.
scary,
They growl.
you
They
know?
can be scary.
They can be very
But
scary.
did you
they
know
can devour things.
If you
That's
face
what we're talking about
if you
today.
face a bear, you're not supposed to panic, which is number one of probably what we're going to talk about today.
or run.
Yeah,
You're
don't
supposed to make
run.
yourself as big as possible.
To make
they
yourself
say.
big.
Yep.
And don't turn
Or
and run.
outrun your buddy. So all you have
Or
to do is
if there's two
outrun
of
your
you,
buddy, 'cause
make
then
sure
your buddy
you're
can get you.
faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So we had started this series last week talking about what is a bear market,
Mm-hmm.
why are we even talking about it, and it's really coming off such a strong performance in 2021
Mm-hmm.
for the stock market, and really the strong performance over the last 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
So because I think you will see more and more in 2022 on the news, any kind of finance show, you're going to start having people start talking about corrections coming, because I think there's a couple things that are coming down the pike. Interest rates adjusting is probably one of them, based on what the Fed has said, and they're meeting in March. We're seeing that inflation has to be addressed because it's, double digits off the charts right now. Everyone's feeling that. Everywhere I go, we were talking about before the show, everywhere we go right now, we're seeing price increase across the board. If
Have
you're
you
getting
looked at
a
the
cup
cost
of
of
coffee,
beef?
Or, food.
Meat and milk.
Oh, yeah. It's
my
crazy.
gosh, it's great. There's so many funny memes. I will say, to be lighthearted,
Yeah.
there are some funny memes out there right now about inflation that are, because you got to laugh sometimes.
I
But yeah,
know.
meat and milk or whatever, like off the charts.
No doubt.
Well, forget the gas prices. Of course, those are through the roof as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple things happening. And, we're not going to see the kind of government spending in our economy in the market this year that we saw in 2020 and even some in 2021. So it's going to be more of the norm, where we said on last show, the 20-year average of the stock market performance is 7%, 9% over the last 10 years. So I would, again, dialing down our expectations to more of a realistic goal of, hey, a 7% return is good, is really what you should be desiring, not the double digits, getting used to the, the fat and calf mentality of just, it's always going to be this way. So, but psychologically, it's really hard, because when people start to see money go out of their account because things do correct, it's disheartening. It can lead to fear. I think fear and greed are the two most common emotions in the financial world. And we all get a little greedy when things have done so well for so long. We want it to continue. And then we start to freak out when it starts to even correct a little bit. And so that's why we're talking about the bear. And today...
Well, I have a good quote from Warren Buffett. I don't know if you've heard of Warren Buffett. I'm not quite sure if that's...
I hope you have. If
I'm
not,
kidding.
read
That's
about
a
him,
joke.
because he's amazing.
Surely even... Kelly, you know who
Warren
Warren Buffett is, right? We're both
She's
looking
our
at her.
millennial
I'm
on the show that we always ask her questions.
Because I know, right?
We're here to do the
genuinely
show for
shocked.
Kelly.
We are. If no one else is listening, Kelly's listening. I cannot. Okay, look up Warren Buffett. Not Jimmy Buffett. Do love Jimmy Buffett, but not the board shorts and margaritas Buffett. The Warren Buffett, the really rich Buffett. He says, other people's fear is your friend because it drives the price of stocks down. Your own fear is your enemy. Now,
I like it.
he also talks about greed. There's some pretty funny quotes, but he's not wrong.
Yep.
Actually, although we don't believe that fear should be a motivator for anyone, but he makes a good point that your own fear is your enemy.
I have a Buffett quote: "Be fearful when others are greedy,
Ah,
and be
that was
greedy
my
when
other
others
one.
are fearful."
I like that one. Did I look that up
He's
too?
like the godfather of
He
finance.
is,
Just
yeah.
because obviously he's built a Berkshire Hathaway, which is such a phenomenal company, and he's. I still, when I was getting my MBA, we studied him a lot in different business cases. And I also just still love his humility. You know,
He
I
does,
mean, he's just a classic Midwesterner. I think I don't know if he still just owns I think he owned the same house in Omaha for like 50 years.
Omaha.
Nebraska.
That's definitely not on my
I went there
bucket
last year
list of
for a
places
kids
to-
club tournament. It's nothing to write home
Yeah,
about.
I'm not-
But nice people.
Sure.
But, you know. But yes, so today we're going to kind of tackle what should you do.
Okay.
And instead of panicking, how can you turn something into an opportunity no matter what your age is? So we're going to address young investors like Kelly and middle investors like us.
I said we're not
and
old.
older investors like
Yeah.
some of our clients or parents
Yeah.
or boomers out there who are getting
Yeah.
ready to retire. Take a listen because you'll need to hear this as well.
Yep.
And I think we've talked about this on a lot of different shows, and we will harp on it until we're blue in the face. Is it's all about having a plan. What do you want your life to look like? What can your life look like based on the assets you've accumulated? You know, some people come into my office at Lighthouse and they want to live on 170 grand a year, but they only have assets that can afford 60 grand a year. And they come to me wanting to make up the difference somehow. And I don't have a magical wand. We have, you know, we can build a plan, but that plan will only work.
Right.
If
you work it.
if we work,
you work it.
You know, so, and if we put assets into that plan. So when we're talking about a market correction, some of the things that we've talked about in the past becoming even more important. The first one being cash reserves, because we want to take as much fear out of a correction as possible. So even when I talk to my millennial investors out there, have some cash in the bank. Start your own emergency fund first. Have between 3-6 months. As you get older, you want 12 months, 18 months, maybe even 2 years worth of cash in the bank, because that allows you to withstand a bear market,
a pandemic.
things that can just kind of wreak havoc on your financial life.
Right.
And I'm sorry, if your finances are in havoc, so is your whole life.
Yeah.
So
if that derails,
yes,
then that
a
can
lot of
trickle
other,
down
because
effect,
we all need money as a tool to live.
Yeah.
And so your cash reserves, number one, are the most important thing that you can make sure right now before we even enter a bear. And if we enter a bear, it's not really a question of if, but when. No one knows when.
Yeah.
But to have those cash reserves, so take a look at your bank accounts this week. Could you get by for 6 to 12 months? The typical bear market does last about 2 years. So if you have a high-end budget where your spending is at a quite big clip, you probably want more of the 2-year mark so that you can withstand and not have to run things so tightly.
Right. If you want to maintain that lifestyle.
Yeah. And so that's before we get to the specific investment things, make sure your cash position is healthy. Number two, have a plan. Know what you want your life to look like. And this is really, I think, even when I talk to millennials, we start talking about, what are your financial goals? Because again, when I talk to boomers versus millennials, their financial goals are totally different. They see retirement differently. Right. They see how long they want to work differently, where they want to work. It's really interesting as you see different generations come in your office of the differences that you see. With my boomer generation, they want as much comfort in their retirement as possible. They're less concerned, not majority, but legacy maybe not so much. But they want to make sure that they can maintain their lifestyle. Yeah. And some, if there's extra left over, great. I really don't have any clients who want their last check to bounce, when
really? No? But nobody asks you for that?
But what does it look like? Because we've talked a lot about this on the show, is it looks different for everyone. Some people don't want a complicated life with multiple homes and, traveling a lot. Some people want
That's my parents.
Yeah,
they
live in the same house. It's been paid off for at least a decade.
Secure,
they want to be
stable.
able to see their kids and grandkids, and that's a beautiful life for them.
My parents have been extremely wise and
which
smart
is wonderful,
with how,
and
with
they're
their
happy.
Goals. Yeah,
they're happy, and they don't have to worry,
and they're comfortable.
Yes, and so, but then there's some that want multiple homes, and they want to travel the world while they're healthy, and and we've even talked about your first half of retirement, you tend to spend more because you're in a place where you're healthier. You can go travel, across the country or across the globe, and it's something you want to do. When you're older, second half of retirement, typically you want to stay a little closer to home. Maybe you have to, maybe you don't have the energy or the chutzpah to continue on that kind of fast pace. You want to take it easier, maybe Monday night bingo is your best night of the week, I love Monday. I love bingo.
I would love Monday night bingo.
So we're having Saturday night game at my house, and we're not in our 70s yet. Yeah. But, so you need to know your plan. And if you can't find a planner in your area, call into the show, come to copytalkpodcast.com. We do this for clients every single week. And so if you contact us, we will ask you some questions. What is your cash position? What do you want, if you're getting ready to retire, what do you already have in place for income? So that's the next thing, is solving for income first. When I build someone's plan, and this is how this relates to a bear, we'll get there in a moment. But everyone becomes their own paycheck in retirement. Some people have pensions. Some people have annuities. Some people just draw down their investments. So you need to know and figure that out of where is your income going to come from, because that's what you want to solve for. That way, if the market's going up and down or whatever it's doing, if your income is solid and you know where it's coming from, even if a portion has to come from your investments in the market, you have a better idea. You're not flying blind. Yeah. You're not just assuming or estimating or guesstimating. You have an idea of, okay, and I do have some clients out there, all of their income has to come from their investments. So we know we have to take a little bit more risk because they need a 4 or 5% return at least to live off of every single year. I don't love that scenario. Those are my more anxious clients because it's directly tied to the market. I typically, and as I'm building my own retirement, I want to build it where I can have my income. I can be more aggressive on the investment side. It can go up and down, but that's more of my legacy piece. Okay. That's not meeting my monthly budget.
I was about to say, that's not putting up the 4 walls and taking care of your bills. And
that's right.
Yeah.
Because those people who only have investments and have not solved for income, they look at the market every day. They're looking at their accounts every day. They're turning on the TV every day. They're doing things that are amping up that fear and anxiety. And no one wants to live that way, no matter what age you're at.
Yeah.
And so what can we do if there is a 20% correction or more? And that's the definition of a bear market. Normal corrections happen all the time. 3 to 4 times a year, we always see a 5% correction. Typically, one time a year, we'll see a 10% correction. That doesn't qualify as a bear market.
Yeah.
That's not what we have historically seen for the past 13 years since 2009, except for the pandemic 2-month period in March of 2020. But now, as we kind of level set into this new world where government spending has been off the charts, they have to sell off some assets, interest rates have to adjust, inflation has to come down. There are certain things that will most likely adjust in 2022 that we should be prepared for as a community here.
Okay.
And our goal in Copy Talk is to educate everyone here who listens to us and just get them thinking about what they might be able to do so that if a 20% or more correction comes, it's not to panic. You know what to do. You know how to turn it into an opportunity.
Right.
And so I think, we're going to go through some things. Number one, recognize that no one knows the future. There are networks built to try to convince you that they know the future, but they don't. And so you don't, and again.
There's a lot of people on Twitter that know the future. I don't know
They
if you're
think
aware.
they do? Yeah,
but I
totally.
swear there are a lot of prophets on Twitter
right.
and crystal balls all over.
All over.
All over Twitter.
And then they're usually wrong. It's just a matter of time before they are proven wrong, or humbled. And I think, the stock market is a very worldly beast.
Well, doom and gloom is also great clickbait. I don't know if anybody knows that after a pandemic, but doom and gloom is a great clickbait.
Because if COVID's not going to produce their numbers, they're going to have to go somewhere. So they're going to probably start talking more about bear markets on the horizon just to put fear in people so that people are tuning in and like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And so they don't know, when it comes to, what different things to look at. Where are the earning reports for, different sectors of the market? How are companies doing? Are they performing based on their forecasts? Where is the unemployment rate? Where's the housing market? Where are some of these precursors that we can all look to? And those are pretty solid right now.
Yeah.
So,
we're definitely we're not bashing anybody who makes forecasts. That's their job. There is a lot of doom and gloom out there, though, that I think is also just trying to suck you in.
For the fear factor of ratings.
Yeah. Well, everybody likes ratings and clicks and likes and all of that. And they would like you to click on their link and they'll give you the 5 best steps on how to da-da-da-da for a solid price of blah, blah, blah.
Totally.
So I think one thing you said a moment ago that is so important, number one, if this isn't a bear, let's just, let's say let's say the bear isn't coming right now. The bear is going to eventually come. So what we're talking about has to do with, you want to be prepared for this regardless
of if it's now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now.
And one thing that you brought up that I think is great for people to focus on is having that plan, because part of that plan is knowing, and I think this, at least for me, this can alleviate so much of my anxiety that can come.
That's right.
What are my goals? And as I'm thinking through those goals, long and short term, but especially as it relates to this is typically your investments, with the exception of some age brackets. This is a long-term strategy. And so knowing what your long-term goals are and preparing with an advisor, which I think is very important, and making sure that, because your advisor, and we said this during the last show, should have already helped you prepare and guide you for what a downturn could look like and how that impacts your long-term goals. So what would I need to shift? What needs would need to be?
Where can you tighten your belt?
Where can I tighten my belt? What could impact my long-term goals where I would need to reallocate and look at things a little bit differently? But if I'm prepared for that, then I'm not scared.
Yeah.
And I'm not excited, but I'm not scared of something coming that rends me powerless, or I'm a little late to the game with an advisor per se.
Sure.
And so I think, and with whomever that advisor is, when you build out that plan, trust it and stick with it.
And make adjustments as you go along.
Well, and I'm going to quote one of my all-time favorites. He is my man, although he doesn't know. I mean, not my man. I love my husband, but I'm going to quote Nick Saban. He always says, trust the process. That's what he tells his players. Trust the process. So I think that's important.
Absolutely.
To when you said that just made me think of I think that's one of the greatest ways to alleviate when you hear all this doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have a plan.
And having a plan that you can go to
Yeah.
makes you feel that you can gain some more power back.
Well, there's some control there.
Because you can, these plans that I build for my clients, we can adjust so many different levers, and it's based on so much algorithmic math that they run 1,000 different probability scenarios to give you a very solid probability percentage of this plan that you just built has a 100 or 99% probability of achieving its goal. And so it allows you to, again, feel in the driver's seat and not let life just happen to you.
Yeah.
So have an advisor come to us. We will build you a plan. But before a bear market hits, you want to make sure your cash position's strong. You want to make sure that your current portfolio matches your current risk tolerance. I was talking a little bit on last show. When folks come to us from other advisors and they're ready to do business with Lighthouse, the first thing we look at, some of them are driving Ferraris when they're ready for the Cadillac. Some of them are so risky in their investments and they have no idea, and they're 70 and they're getting ready to retire and they have no idea that they're 90% invested in equities. They have no anchor. So when that bear comes, that correction is going to be right into the heart of their portfolio. If the portfolio goes down, if the bear market comes in at 40% drop, their portfolio is going to drop close to that 40% number.
Yeah.
So look at your investments. What is the risk rating on your investments? Get with an advisor, or, you can find risk assessments even online, but know what your risk is. What can you stomach?
We've done a show on risk tolerance.
And we have, yeah. And I think the first half
on that, yep.
of 2021, if you want to go back. But know your risk. And then look at your portfolio. Make sure it's rebalanced. So what happens is, say if I have a risk tolerance that I only want about 60% position in stocks, 40% in other hedged kind of products or bonds or what have you. There's different alternatives to bonds because bonds have not been doing so well in the last few years. But if I only want 60% in equities, but I haven't rebalanced, 2021 was such a strong year in equity performance. My portfolio might be at an 80-20 and I don't even realize, and I haven't rebalanced it or worked with my advisor to rebalance it to get it back to that 60-40 split where I'm really comfortable. So now's the time when you're coming off of a strong year to make sure it has been rebalanced. So you know where you're sitting. You know what you have so that you're investing on facts, not emotion. Because we talked a lot about last year what emotions do. Emotions make you make very poor decisions because they're not logical. And so if you start seeing corrections and you start seeing a drop of 10%, of 20%, of 30%, the most pivotal mistake people can make is they let their emotions run amok and they start selling off at the bottom.
I was about to say, does that mean they start withdrawing and
They
withdrawing?
say, I want out.
Yeah.
And now they're pulling out at the record low instead of staying on the bus, because you have to stay on the bus because you will eventually, at least history has showed us, you will eventually recover those losses. It's taken different amount of times. The bear of 1929, we said last show, took 25 years to recover. The last bear we had,
that's not the norm.
The last bear we had took between 3 or 4 years to recover those losses if you stay on the bus. So you have to know, like, what do you have to sit at to stay on the bus? And we were talking about, what is your bus number? If it's 42, make sure your portfolio is positioned at that 42 risk tolerance level. If it's a 90, I would say get your helmet on and get your seatbelt on. But if that's what you want your bus to be, that's going to be a bumpier ride most likely. But hey, you might not need the money for it because time horizon does matter.
And we mentioned this last time. It may first just stop and take a breath.
Yeah.
Do nothing at first, not
right.
forever, but do nothing at first and don't react out of emotion. But instead of withdrawing, meet with your advisor, because a bear market can be the time to actually put money in the market.
That's right. And that's where I wanted to end. You help me walk.
Well, I don't want you to end yet because I actually have a question.
Okay.
Well, so I was reading about this. Now, you may be like, yeah, that sounds great. But I thought this was interesting. So there's something called tax loss harvesting. So it may be a time in a bear market where you can sell securities and assets at a loss, but it'll offset a tax liability in the form of capital gains or ordinary income.
It will. And,
do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. But I think this is why advising paying an advisor makes sense.
Okay.
Because a lot of what an advisor has access to that you don't have access to are strategically managed accounts where you have third-party money managers doing this on your behalf, things like tax harvesting.
Okay.
In the background at all times.
Okay.
So they usually come with some minimum requirements, like a $250,000 or $500,000 minimum, but you can have a tax advantaged managed account where they're doing things like that on your behalf in the background. So they're always taking advantage and maximizing whatever tax advantages they can. That's absolutely true.
Okay.
It's harder to do on your own.
On your own. But this is why this is a support for why it's worth it to pay someone.
Right. Why is it worth it to pay an advisor
Absolutely.
a certain percentage of your return?
Right.
Because most of them charge some kind of fee.
Yeah.
They can't work for free.
But they'll think of things you don't.
But yes. And they have the tools and they
Yeah.
have access to things that you probably don't on your own.
Yeah.
And they can help you build that plan, which is absolutely what they should be doing. And if they don't, find one that does.
Yeah.
Or come to us.
Okay. I just thought that was interesting. Yep.
That is absolutely true. So the last thing I wanted to end on was how to turn a bear into opportunity, and you just leveraged it. And this is an opportunity for our younger investors out there, but also to anyone that when, like the Warren Buffetts of the world, they look forward to bear markets because they know that as long as they don't get off the bus and they can start to what's called dollar cost average. So putting the same amount of money in same intervals of time. So maybe it's even just $100 a month. Maybe it's $1,000 a month, whatever that increment is. But they consistently, with Warren Buffett, I'm sure it's like 100 million a month or whatever. But but for the rest of us,
the non-Buffetts,
of the world, you can still take advantage and put a predictable amount in a predictable rhythm of time, and then you are participating in that growth and buying on the low side, and that those stocks that you can buy when a bear comes are on sale, right? Because they've had a correction. And so you're buying more shares, and over time, as you dollar cost average, you can actually own more shares at a lesser price because you're taking advantage. And again, it's that process that helps take the bite out of that market correction for you, because you're in it for the long haul. You're doing consistent things, and you're taking advantage so that the down is actually helping you, not so much hurting you.
It's true. Like you're getting high potential returns at a lower price. We did quote Mr. Buffett earlier that
that's right.
Other people's fear can be your best friend because
right.
they're bailing and you're getting stocks at
and for young investors especially. So because they don't have millions of dollars accumulated yet, it could be $100 a month. It could be $500 a month, but to start dollar cost averaging now, because you have so much time on your horizon, as you start to invest now, in the next 5-10 years, you will see a sizable correction that you can take advantage of. Yeah. So especially my youngins out there, aka Kelly, I want you to, I have a couple little sisters that I oftentimes work with on this as well, is because start young. If it was so imperative to have time on your side. And any of you out there, those of you who started investing or saving for your 401k in your 20s and now you're in your 70s, I know you're also thankful for that, because the longer you have to let this market work for you, the less scared you have to be of bears, and the greater opportunity you have no matter what happens. So there's at least some tidbits we wanted to share because we don't know what 2022 holds. We want to equip you. If you have more questions, come to our website, copytalkpodcast.com. Click the Contact Us page. We can answer questions. We can have a call. We can build a plan. We can do all the things. And where else can people find us?
Well, Instagram.
Ryan,
what is our hashtag this week?
It's got to be trust the process.
I like
Love
it.
Trust the process.
I'm so glad you're in charge of this now, because he's so much better at it than we are.
Yes. Hashtag Nick Saban.
Yes.
Hashtag trust the process. He has that man has no idea what a germ I am, but I love you, Nick. No, I'm just... Anyways, yes. And then, of course, YouTube. Subscribe,
share with your friends. Yeah. This is a community that's building every week because of you all. So thank you.
And tune in next week, because it should be next week. No, I'm sorry. It won't be next week. It's the week. Is it next week or the week? Whatever. The week of closing ceremonies. Shannon's going to look like America has thrown up on her. So yes, tune in. Thank you, everybody.
Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member, FINRA SIPC. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Financial planning services through Lighthouse Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Lighthouse and Cambridge are not affiliated.